Hey everyone, I'm Lyle Burks with the Viking Speaks. And this is the 48 Laws of Power. Hey everyone, it's Lyle Burks with the Viking Speaks. Welcome to day 50 of the 90-day challenge. Today we have the 48 Laws of Power. Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest and never to their mercy or gratitude. If you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance or good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something of your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him, and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. So he starts off this chapter with a transgression of the law. And if I remember correctly, let me see, it was Italians. Not mistaken. Oops, I lost my page. There I go. But either way, he was talking about the Italian Renaissance, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. A young man named Castruccio Castracani. Oh, these Italian names kill me. Terrible at them. Either way. He was a young, ambitious man who had grown into power. And in his ambition, he sought out a lot of conflict and war. Well, the people of his area did not really appreciate that, and he felt like, or they felt like he had kind of forgotten them in his ambition. So, when he left their hometown and went on to Florence to start another conflict, the people of the city killed the governor, and they began to riot and destroy the city and palace, the whole nine yards. It was getting pretty bad. Well, one of the more astute members of one of the prominent families of the area was able to get both sides of factions, supporters of the young, ambitious man versus people who protested. He was able to get both sides to just stop. And he convinced them to allow him to go in there and try diplomacy. Talk with him, explain what had happened, appeal to his good interests, so on and so forth. Well, when the fellow's name, who I have a hard time pronouncing, came back, he caught wind of it before he came back, and he thought it was going to be turmoil. So he rushed back and everything, and when he came back and saw peace, he was a little shocked. So the other fellow, his name is Stefan Pogios, I want to say it is, but we'll stick with Stefano. When Stefano told him about what had happened, he suspected that the young, ambitious man would be pleased. So he told this fellow about what had happened, and he explained about how in the past they'd always supported him, they'd always been a benefactor to his causes, and had always been by his side. You know, his entire family, although they did have some young and restless individuals who were a little hot-headed in this particular situation, for the majority, the remainder of his family had been nothing but supportive. So the ruler, he didn't seem upset. He didn't seem mad or anything. He's like, I'm all right with this. So why don't you just bring your whole family here and we can discuss the matter and I can pardon you in person. So Stefano brought his whole family the next day. And upon arrival, after greeting, they were all imprisoned and would later be executed. So, the transgression there is they tried to use past experiences, debts, alliances, and, always having had good favor with this fella as a way to get out of things. They could have actually still, even after imprisonment, excuse me, even after imprisonment, prior to execution, he still could have gotten out of it. If he had just offered perhaps loyalty, money, resources, anything that would have appealed to this guy of ambition, could have potentially persuaded him. But instead, he didn't, so off with their heads, right? But to the flip side, the Athenians in ancient Greece, they were known to be very diplomatic and thought of as kind of prestigious. The Corinths and gosh, there was another faction the whole time. This is important. I need to know these names. It's killing me. What was it? The faction that would later on be called the Corfu. In this book, it's the island of Corcyra, and then the state of Corinth. They both stood, he said, on the brink of conflict. So they both sent ambassadors to Athens to try and gain favor. Corinth, Corcyra went first. And they were kind of no bones about it. They made it very clear that, they didn't have a whole lot of resources, not much outside of the way of a substantial navy, ships, and manpower they could provide. Other than that, they didn't have a pretty, sizable standing army, and they didn't have a whole lot in the way of natural resources outside of their navy that they could provide, which also provided a steady economic stint. They were able to bring in a pretty good amount of money as a result of their navy. But historically, they really hadn't been too kind or friendly with Athens, and they were aware of that. And look, we understand that, in the past, we have sided with your enemies. Not making a lot of that. But at the end of the day, we understand that Athens is powerful, and we could help each other out here. So we offer you our navy if it's something you're willing to accept. Well, Corinth went the other approach. They took and they said, look at these fools. We've always been your allies. These guys have always sided with the enemies. How's it going to look in front of the other folks if you decide to turn away the people who you've always been allies with, who's always had your back, and go with these folks? Maybe you'll lose allies as a result of that, right? Well, at the end of the day, Athens actually went with Corcyra, because regardless of their particular situation and their historic conflict with Corcyra, they understood that the combining of their two navies could lead to a worldwide power. So, regardless of the politically correct stance, they elected to move with Corcyra, and the rest was history. So, when it comes to your personal life and implementing this law, think about it at your job or maybe in a relationship. You have something you want at work. It would make your life better. Maybe you want a raise. Let's stick with that. Maybe you want a raise, right? Well, your boss has got various different things he's being judged on. His performance is reliant on your performance. So, if you want to go get that raise, maybe compromise with the boss or offer him something that would make sure he gets that promotion too. Do some extra work. Stand out. Do something for him or her that would kind of help set him apart because he was the leader of that team. Even though you're doing it for your own selfish purposes to get that raise. Make it seem as though the benefit is going to be more for your boss than it is for you. And in a relationship too, compromise is really where I would say this one becomes a little more prevalent. You don't always have to be right. Or even if you know you're right in a situation, you don't have to voice it all the time. Sometimes it's okay to give your partner that moment. Maybe they need it. And in doing so, swallowing your pride at that particular moment, well, it's not just going to gain you brownie points, it's going to gain you their respect and their admiration. Because instead of being a prideful ass and just being right for the sake of being right, you gave them that win. And it might not seem like much to you in the moment, but it could mean an awful lot to them. So, anyway, not speaking about anything particular there, just something that could help in the future. So, that's all I got for today. This one kind of ran a little bit long. If you made it through to this one, hopefully it was worthwhile. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Much love. Bye for now.